Hello and welcome to the Vandy 24/7 podcast presented by FanDuel. I'm your host, Chris Lee. Speaking of FanDuel, the Commodores plus 2,500 for the men to make the Final Four. If you're interested in that, over at FanDuel. Anyway, in today's show, we will discuss Vanderbilt's overtime win at Ole Miss last night and a 4-game losing streak for baseball and some things with that with our guest, Luke Wyatt. Luke, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, much needed win last night, Chris, in basketball. It was tenuous the whole time. Ole Miss has been playing better. They'd lost single-digit games and then finally won at Auburn, I guess, Saturday. So that was a good win and much needed for the confidence of the guys. And I love to see Nickel finally hit a shot that mattered. He's really struggling right now mentally with his shot.
Yeah, that was a wild one.
Yeah, it was. You've muted yourself, Chris. Chris, you've muted yourself. Can't hear you.
Are we good now?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Yeah, that was weird. It wasn't. I didn't mute anything. I think my internet crashed for a split second there, maybe. But anyway, hey, off to a rousing start here. Before we go further, reminder, we are brought to you by
I can't hear you again.
Are we good now?
Yes.
Okay. I think I'm having a tech issue.
Okay.
On you. I wonder if I have twisted a cord or something. Please let me know if that happens again. Anyway, back to where we were. We are brought to you by Sylvan Park Ventures, a Nashville-based investment firm partnering with entrepreneurs, companies, and real estate opportunities through thoughtful growth capital and long-term relationships. Find out more at sylvanparkventures.com. Basketball season presented by our friend Steve Andrews and the Wash House. Commodore fans, don't waste your weekends doing laundry when you could be cheering on the Doors at the Wash House Laundry Center. We've got your back with our brand new pickup and delivery service. We will wash it, pick it up, fold it, and drop it back off. Fresh, clean, and game day ready. Perfect for busy students, fans, and Nashville families on the go. Schedule your pickup now at washhouseclean.com. Anchor down at the Wash House Laundry Center. Baseball season presented by Scott Pettis Realty. Looking to buy a home in Nashville, Tennessee, or sell one? Trust Scott Pettis and Scott Pettis Realty. He is a Vanderbilt graduate, class of 2008, a Nashville native of 18 years with real estate experience. Scott's deep roots and personal connections across the city give his clients a true edge. Whether you're buying your first home, selling a luxury property, or looking for that next investment property, from starter homes to teardowns to million-dollar listings, Scott has done it all. He personally guides each client through each step of the buying process and selling process. No teams, no handoffs, no shortcuts. With the 2026 housing market shifting to a more balanced market, now is the time. Have an experienced agent in your corner. Meet Scott at scottpettisrealty.com, or scottpettis.com. That is PETTUS.com. Get Scott back to work for you. All right. I'm going to take a deep breath and focus on wherever you would like to start. Let's do basketball first. Where would you like to start in digesting what we saw last night in Oxford?
Well, again, concerning with the slow start. Now, part of that was a little bit of bad luck. Like Malik Dia made a difficult bank shot from three, and I'm thinking, boy, if it goes this way much longer, we're in trouble because everything they were throwing up was going in. Again, we got down 15-3. Very similar to what happened at Kentucky when we let them start hitting threes and get into a rhythm. But luckily, our defense was much better last night. And, Tyler Tanner saved our bacon again.
It's weird. I was watching that game even when they were down whatever it was, 11 or 12. I guess it was 12 points. It was the biggest they got down. Still thought they'd win the game. Like, they're not going to be 2 of 14 the whole night. And Ole Miss, just like good teams, really make that lead. That becomes a 24-3 type thing or whatever, rather than what it was. I think they'll end up winning this game. There was like no, even in overtime, and even when it got dicey at the end of regulation and Ole Miss made some plays, I still thought they were going to win. It was just odd. I never for a second really thought they'd lose that game.
Chris, we talk about atmospheres, and that's a tough atmosphere to play in. It was nobody there. It was probably one of the smallest crowds I've seen there in South Carolina last week.
Yeah.
Kentucky, when it was all Kentucky. Even though, and everybody says, well, you got to get up for every game and all that. It's still, it's mentally tough. You're toward the end of the season. You've got a guy that's one of your relied upon top 3 scorers who's in a huge shooting slump from 3. He still didn't really get out of it. I hope that last 3 he hit will make him that much better for Saturday. But it's been a long, tough road, and having to hit these last 3 on the road, obviously there was nothing that you could do about that with the ice storm in Oxford. But that's made it tough on these kids. We're not going to be at home the rest of the year. You got to play the tournament, and I just feel like sitting on 23-7, you would take that 10 times out of 10 and twice on Sunday.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. I think it's just right now they don't feel like they're a particularly dangerous team when you watch them play. But I still think that's in them. I mean, if they get Tyler Nickel going again, that changes the entire complexion of the team.
It does, Chris. Just look at last night. Obviously, Tyler led the way with 34. Cherokee was 16. And then if you get that third guy consistently, like Tyler Nickel, and then some nights you get Devin or Jalen Washington to score double digits. Even Chandler Bing scored double digits a couple times. If they get that to where it's 3 consistent scores in double digits, then we're going to be fine, and we can beat a lot of people, and we can get back to what we thought we were. And I think the departure finally of Frankie Collins, that was action for this team. I don't care what anyone says, including Coach Byington, that has to be a distraction. So now that we moved out of Nashville, let's circle the wagons and get this thing done.
Yeah, I might use the word cancer.
Yeah, you always have that. When you have something lingering and dangling, that's conversations when normally you'd be talking about the team and basketball, and instead your side conversations are, hey, man, what's going on with Frankie? I heard this. What'd you hear? And it just, and it's really tough on the coaching staff, too, because they get distracted in their scouts and everything else because they're worrying about other issues.
Yeah. Here's another thing I think that needs to get fixed is Duke Miles' shooting. He was big in that Georgia game. He's 6 of 10, 3 of 5 from 3, and they probably don't win that game without him. But the other games, once he's been back, he was 3 of 13 from the field against Tennessee. Okay, that happens. It's Tennessee. That's a team that defends physically at an elite level. 3 of 9 at Kentucky, then 5 of 17 last night. And I just did not like, and I know Tyler Tanner deferred to Duke, and maybe that's one of those, hey, if it doesn't work, we'll get him in overtime. Maybe let's get Duke some confidence and let him make a play. But I just feel like, I don't know, maybe a little too high a volume of shooting right now for the way he's playing.
I would say it's his shot selection.
That's what I mean. Yeah, the selection. It feels like there's a lot of driving the lane and just kind of forcing hard shots that end up hitting the backboard and the rim or something like that.
Unfortunately, he's made a bunch of those, and I think it's high percentage for me. Like, for instance, where we could have won it in regulation with Duke, he drives right into the teeth of the defense instead of pulling up, and he had a wide open 17-footer. He should have done, because Duke is a very good shooter when he's wide open. So it's just decision making, and again, it's only his third game back. So I think as we get into the SEC tournament. Maybe not the Tennessee game because they're elite defensively, but as we get into the SEC tournament and the NCAA tournament, I think Duke will round into shape.
Yeah, I think he will too. And if he does that, and if Nickel plays the way we all know Nickel can play, and I think that just the weird thing about Tyler is he's been so consistent until this. It was just out of the blue. I did not think that Tyler Nichols being a lack of an offensive threat for multiple games, probably more often than not this month would ever be a topic here.
Yeah, and Chris, I don't know who the shot doctor is on the staff, but to me, watching it for the last 3 games, he's rushing everything.
Yeah.
He's good at turning it and letting it fly quickly, but there's a difference. If you don't have your feet under you, you can't shoot the basketball accurately. And there's a lot of that stuff is he's off balance and he's rushing. And if you notice, he's hitting a lot of back irons. So what does that tell you? He's left a little bit of his arch out of his shot. So he'll get there. Maybe I should go how to do it. I don't know.
Maybe if you can help, I think they'd take it at this point. What else from last night stood out to you? I've got a few things, but I wanted to give you a chance to get yours out of the way.
I thought Okereke was, I say the difference. Tyler Tanner obviously was the difference, but without Okereke's contributions of 16, we don't win that game. And, again, we've got these 2 flagrants. I get so frustrated with this stuff. I understand it. It probably was the right calls, the Malik Dia and obviously another one on Devin. I just wish they would just call them fouls and be done with it.
Yeah, I got thoughts on that in a minute. But Okereke, speaking of which, I think he had 1 foul until the final minute of regulation, and then he fouled out. I know he had 3 in overtime, and I think number 2 came really, really late in regulation, like in the last minute.
And thank goodness for Jaden Leverett not playing like a freshman on that missed free throw. He listened to what he was told. As soon as you grab the basketball, call the timeout, because if Leverett's shooting those free throws, he may have made them, but odds are he's not going to make them at a higher rate than Tyler Tanner. That's for sure.
Yeah. Okereke last night, 16 points, 5 boards, 5 assists, a steal, a block, and 5 rebounds. I mean, just the thing with him that Mark Byington talks about is just his calmness and his cool. I mean, he's a guy that we may look up and say, hey, they got to win in the NCAA tournament because Okereke made a play down the stretch, hit some free throws or whatever. I just love having a guy like that on the team that is just kind of a calming presence.
Yeah, he has a slow heartbeat. There's no question about that. And a polar opposite of that is Devin. Devin plays with so much emotion and reckless abandon at times. He had an uneven game.
Yeah.
Did a great job on the boards. The one kid that I would say can make a difference in going far in the NCAA tournament is Washington. He has to play with more instead of he sometimes falls back into a finesse game around the basket. You can't do that.
Yeah.
He had 2 opportunities last night where he could just dunk the basketball and try to just chin it up with a layup.
Well, and look, I really do like all the 9 guys that played last night. Although Harris is, his contributions are kind of questionable at this point, but with McLaughlin, and he ends up on the wrong end of foul calls all the time. But he's also got to quit putting himself in that position. It feels like he's in a chicken fight with somebody all the time. And okay, one way not to get called for hook and hold. Well, I mean, I guess there's no surefire way anymore. I don't know what constitutes what, but maybe stop putting yourself in that position so much.
Well, in his defense, I think Devin gets caught having to guard guys that are a lot bigger or stronger.
Yeah.
I think he feels like he has to bring the physicality, and sometimes he's smart with the way he goes about it.
Yeah, I mean, and I admire the effort. I like him. I mean, he seemed like a great kid. He got 14 boards last night. It didn't give him much else. I feel like Devin is always contributing somewhere, but man, they had 3 guys foul out last night. You can't. And I guess there's an extra 5 minutes because of overtime, and Ole Miss is physical, and some of that is just you try to match them, and that's what happens on the road. But I don't know, man. It's just that's something that, and maybe it's just not going to happen. I mean, here we are, 30 games in the season. That's what they are. I don't think you wave a magic wand and it fixes itself, but for their sake, you wish it would.
Well, if you notice with Devin, the games when he's hitting his threes, he doesn't get into foul trouble because he's feeling good on the offensive end, and he carries up because he's like, hey, man, I'm feeling it tonight. I want to stay in this game. I think a lot of times his frustrations comes when he's missing shots. The other key, I think, to last night's win was the turnovers. We did a great job. Tyler Tanner looked like his old self, had 3 or 4 steals, I guess. I think we turned them over 16 times when they only averaged 9 a game.
Yeah. Well, and one way to win when you're shooting 39% from the field and 28% from 3 is to grab 22 offensive boards.
Yes, and that's probably one of their best rebounding games of the year, I would think.
Yeah, I don't remember them winning a game when you look up and say maybe the biggest factor other than Tyler Tanner was the ability to grab offensive boards. I don't think that's been a theme this year.
And they're going to need that Saturday for sure.
Yeah. Before we go to Saturday, I mean, here we are where officiating, particularly late game officiating, was again a topic of conversation.
Look, I have a real problem. I don't understand. Is it the league? Or I say the league. The way the games are officiated, and it's not just the SEC. I've watched some Big Ten stuff. But, man alive, I don't know what a foul is anymore.
I know. I don't either. And I feel a little sympathy for the officials because I think some of the rules have put them in a bad place. I think the hook and hold, sometimes the flagrant stuff. Although I feel like they get the flagrants right more than they do some of the others sometimes.
Well, they're able to review that. But
yeah, well, they can review hook and holds too, and I think they get those wrong all the time.
Well, the things I have a problem with are explain to me when a guy is, okay, you're backing a guy down, you're turning your arm and you're just hitting him in the chest over and over and over, and then they defensive guy. How is that a foul on the defensive guy? If he's not I'm sorry, that's wrong. That's a wrong call. And when Tyler Tanner goes to the basket and he gets hit, yeah, he's going to hit the floor more because he's smaller, but it's still,
Yeah. Well, and I didn't like last night. I think it was AJ Storr just got in the lane and just bumped whoever was it Tanner or who was. Just bumped, just like bam, and then did it again, and like about 3 times, and finally knocked him to the floor. I mean, come on! It's a continued complaint. They have legislated offensive fouls out of the game.
And what they've also done, Chris, if you watch any NBA, which I usually don't, although I'm a Hawks fan, so I'll watch them a little bit. That's an NBA thing. They're trying to make the college game more like the NBA, which I hate.
I don't like it.
That's what they're doing. And like it or not, it's becoming more of an offensive game. How many times go watch some old films? I'm not talking about in the 70s. I'm talking about 10 years ago. How many times when a guy's driving to the basket, they hit the ground and fall into the stanchion or into the cheerleaders or into the cameraman? It happens every layup almost because they're getting guys are getting hit. And it used to be a foul, but now they know they've got to extend themselves because they're going to get hit and they're not going to call the foul. So you got to score through contact all the time. Yeah,
well, and credit to A.K. Okereke, and they kind of did that to Ole Miss a little bit when they were here. He just bullied guys. Now, it wasn't – I don't think the contact was as dramatic as that, but he figured – he's like, okay, next possession, what happened? He went and kind of did the same thing. It wasn't as pronounced, but he is like, all right, if we're going to get away with body blows to someone else, I'll deliver a couple and take a shot. So, I think the part that this is where I speak in contradictions a little bit. I think there's a kind of a harmony in here somewhere. I'm not sure where it is. I like the idea of getting calls right. I really do. I'm not a guy that's going to complain about a replay delaying the game for a few minutes, so long as it's just things aren't ridiculous, which they're ridiculous right now. And again, I don't blame the officials for that part of it.
Right.
I think the way the game is written, if a coach wants to challenge a play, it's his right. You go to the monitor, you try to get it right. Now, where I have confusion is how they rule on hook and holds and stuff. But the let's turn back time element of the game is problematic to me. And Vanderbilt benefited from it some last night, probably more than it didn't. Like there was a time where it didn't, McLaughlin got a fourth foul, on a hook and hold or whatever, I think, and then got a fifth not long afterwards. But the play at the end, and it was definitely a flagrant. I mean, when Okereke's coming out with the rebound and Malik Diaz on the ground, he grabs his knee to try to trip him. It was what it was. But here's the issue. Vanderbilt goes to the other end and gets a bucket on that possession already. So it didn't really change anything. And then they get two more foul shots out of it. In addition, but like if you call it live, the bucket on the end never happens for one, right?
Right.
So I guess you could say, okay, if you're getting two shots in the ball, then maybe like if a flagrant gets you the possession and two shots, then maybe it didn't play out any differently than what if it had been called live. I get that. The sequencing was weird. But the other thing is too, Luke, like when you're down, especially in the final minutes, and it's a 1, 2, 3-point game, your strategy is going to be very different based on the score. So to go back retroactively and add points, and that kind of thing to me, I mean, that I get it. I mean, he got caught doing something he shouldn't have done. Replay caught it. The refs didn't catch it live. But that was a little bit unfair to Ole Miss, too, in terms of just like, okay, now you don't have many possessions left, and you got to play to the scoreboard. And the scoreboard just changed in a big, big, big way.
Well, the other thing that wasn't correct, or I don't know how you correct this, how does a guy that's fouled out of the game hit 2 free throws?
Well, I was getting to that next. I mean,
so, it's a rare situation. I'm not sure that's happened again this year in college basketball, especially late in the game. But one other point I wanted to make about it, too, Chris, from more like an NBA game is they don't call walks anymore. There's no.
That is awful.
It's awful. It started with, remember, you used to have to dribble the basketball. You couldn't do this. Now you can eat a ham sandwich, put it on a yo-yo, whatever. They're not going to call anything.
No.
That's disturbing. That's one part of the women's game that I like better than the men's, believe it or not, is because they actually do call that on the women's.
Yeah, I'm wondering, too, with the other thing that was weird last night is that Vanderbilt asked for a replay of a situation on McLaughlin.
Yeah.
And it ended up going the other way against them.
Yeah.
And I think if I remember right, it wasn't in the play-by-play on the stat. And by the way, I pitied the stat broadcast guys last night. Like, you've got to enter things, and like, what does stat broadcast do when you're telling it Malik Diaz scored points with 26 seconds left, but he fouled out with 43 seconds left?
Yeah.
Like, does that get I'm wondering about those poor guys, because there were a few of those wind back time things last night that, like, the system's probably telling those poor people you can't do that.
Yeah, I don't know what you do there. There's one kid that watches our iPad. I would not want his job, first of all.
No,
because you got to be quick, man. You got to know what you're doing. You got to have that thing ready to go. And there's always an assistant over his shoulder looking with him. He'll give you what he got. He does this if it's don't challenge or whatever. And he made a mistake. He shouldn't have challenged that one.
Sure.
But he's going to make them every once in a while. But, think about this in the NCAA tournament. When we get down to, say, the difference in going to Elite Eight or Final Four, and it comes down to a call like that a student manager has to make a call.
Uh-huh. So, here's something I'm going to throw at you, though. I wonder if they thought maybe this is a shot in the dark, but like you get a little longer time.
Yeah.
If a replay goes for 3 or 4 minutes, is that like you can get a longer timeout? Hey, let's challenge this. We don't think it's going to win, but that'll give Tyler Tanner, a couple more minutes to catch his breath.
Right. Well, Coach Beard did the same thing.
Sure.
That wasn't going to be reversed, but he knew I can burn a timeout. I got another one left. As it turned out, it didn't hurt him really, but he knew he wasn't going to win that challenge. It just bought him time.
The other thing, is there a thing where, like, I'm just thinking with the Dia thing last night, I don't know what his foul shooting percentage is, but like if they had if he had not been able to shoot the free throws, I guess Ole Miss could have. Could they have checked? Would they have to have somebody on the floor, or would they have to check in a shooter?
No, you have the way I understand it is if someone fouls out or there's an injury timeout, it has to be on the floor. It can't be a guy coming off the bench.
Okay.
They're 4 guys.
What if that happens and say D is like a 25% foul shooter?
Yeah.
And like it wasn't called like that. Like I'm wondering if the system could be manipulated. Let's say they never make that call and Vanderbilt never appeals.
Yeah.
What if Diaz that free throw shooter and Beard's going, hey, wait a minute, we got to get this guy off the floor. I'm just wondering, like, is there a way that you can manipulate it in a way that's unseen to benefit your team? I think it would be a long shot, but I do wonder. Like, I feel like we've seen a little bit of everything this year. I just wonder if there's a way that there's an unintended consequence in there that could backfire. That a team could use to like even disqualify one of its own players. Although I don't know why you'd really want to do that, but I just wonder if there's like some weird thing in here we haven't thought of that could happen.
It would have to be a unique situation with time and score. I mean, and you couldn't really plan for it. I don't think. I think it's happened organically.
Yeah, Trace has nailed it. All common sense has been lost, and it has in a lot of football stuff too. I mean, you've heard me say it a million times, but let's see, what else did I have for hoops? I guess other than looking ahead to Tennessee, I'm ready to move on to baseball.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say about Tennessee, it's a huge game from the standpoint, not necessarily that Vanderbilt needs to win. I think they're going to be a 5 or 6 seed, but what would help them is seeding in the SEC tournament. If they win that, they have it because of the way the schedule looks. If the favored teams win, Vanderbilt could still get that double bye.
Yeah. I think you at least want a single bye.
Right. And you
don't want to be playing that extra game.
Right. And if you lose, you can't control that. So
yeah,
finish 9th.
I do question. And I hate this because, like, you play the games to win, and it's fun for the fans. But I do wonder, are they better off just going one and done in this thing?
If we beat Tennessee, yes. If we lose to Tennessee, losing 2 in a row is never good. I think you drop a seed line.
Yeah, well, that happened in last year too. But also they didn't have any momentum going in NCAAs. I'm sorry I cut you off there.
No, it's okay. I'm just not sure this time of year. I think Coach Byington would know more than we would whether this team needs more time off.
Yeah.
One of the worst games they played was when they had their week off. Wasn't that the Oklahoma game? They came back and played horribly after having 6 days off or whatever. Am I wrong about that? When
are we talking?
When we had when we were talking about they'd gone through that tough stretch, and I said, boy, this team needs a day off. And they had that week. It was their week.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the Oklahoma game, the next one back, and we played horribly? And
that's true. I mean, I don't know if you blame it on that or, there was a lot of Frankie Collins chatter in the gym that day about how big of a distraction he'd been. I don't know if it was that or the first or both of them.
Yeah. Something that's interesting to me is Mason Nicholson still travels and he's always there and he's in sweats. I don't know if that means he's may come back next year. I don't know. That doesn't make sense.
I don't either.
That doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
What I'm told is they're really very different situations.
Oh, I'm certain of that.
And the Collins one is just, I don't think I know the half of it. And the part I know is just bizarre.
Yeah. Let's hope that goes away quick.
Yeah. Well, he's, I guess you heard last night, or you may have mentioned Mark Minden, he's off the team and out of town. And, that's a good riddance situation.
Yeah, he's out. And look, best of luck to the kid. I don't know him, didn't know him, but I hope he grows up to be a fine young man and gets things straight.
Yeah, I do too, but long way between here and there. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, baseball. I know everybody's looking forward to this. Where do you want to start?
Fire Tim Corbin. That's the part.
Oh, yeah.
So freaking mad about that, Chris. When I see and hear people, and I know everybody has a right to their own opinion, okay? I get it. We're talking about a guy who was the number one seed in the nation just last year. He's been to 19 straight NCAA tournaments, and they're blaming it on Tim Corbin. Now I get it. Right now, we don't look like we're going to make any kind of tournament, but it's early. We still have 43 games to play.
Yeah.
Last year we only lost 5 non-conference games. We've already lost 6. So I said before the season started, I thought this was a 2-seed type team. And the reason I said that is because I didn't know having the third different hitting coach in 3 years has got to mess with certain kids' minds, even if you have a great hitting coach. And obviously the power numbers are up for whatever reason. And that's the other thing. People complain, we don't hit any home runs. Now that we've hit 29 home runs, we're still the worst team in the league from everybody's standpoint. So I just hate when things are going bad, Tim Corbin, it's over with. His days, the game's passed him by and all this bull, you know what.
Yeah.
Done with that. Would you take, let me ask you this, and I think I mentioned this to you before. Would you take O'Connor as a coach?
I mean, if Brian O'Connor were available, and every coach in the country would hire him today.
Okay, he's missed.
I mean, if your coach were leaving or fired or whatever.
Okay, he's at Mississippi State now, and they're doing very well. He's lost. He hasn't been to. He didn't go to the NCAA tournament 3 of the last 7 years. Didn't even go to. But he's a coach. So come on, give me a break. It's not the head coach that's the problem. It's getting fifth. First of all, you got really only 14 pitchers. Hudson Barden's on a pitch count when he does pitch, and you've got 5 other pitchers sitting there that we don't know when they're going to pitch.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, there's a lot of issues. We'll get into those in a minute. But to the Corbin thing, here's where I stand. And this is where it's that whole people can't grasp multiple things at once. They just pick a lane, and it doesn't matter if it's if the whole thing doesn't make any sense the way you put it together. But they go there, and, man, they stick to it. Yeah. Anybody that's unhappy with Tim Corbin, I will rank you several criticisms, okay? They were slow to adapt to the portal, which I kind of get because of the way he built his culture. And I've been around him long enough to get it. And I had some questions about how he built it earlier. And I used to kind of be a critic of some of those things, but I sort of get it now. They're willing to lose some battles to win some wars.
Yes.
And the culture is the element of them. I mean, I think more than winning 2 College World Series, I think that streak of consecutive tournament appearances is maybe more remarkable. And there's part of me that goes, hey, maybe they just need to not make the tournament this year, because I don't think people have appreciated that. And maybe they will if they don't have that, which I think that is a big possibility if they don't go. Like right now, if I'm making a guess, and it's way too early, if you had to say, Chris, life depends on it, they make the NCAA tournament. I don't think they do right now, but it could change. But I think that there's some other things you could pick. I don't think that. I think they should have gone out and gotten a dude in the portal in terms of pitching. I think that's really hurting them right now, especially if some of these guys are out, Austin Nye or whoever, for a while. We'll get into that in a minute. But here's the thing: people say, like, can you not see the program is in decline? Well, I mean, yeah, the results have not met expectations the last few years. I get it. And here's my favorite one. Are you okay with losing in the regional round last year and not making a super or whatever? But it's like, okay, that's fine. Like nobody's happy with that. But like it leaves out the part that you were the freaking number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament for your body of work over 60 games. I mean, how is the program? Explain to me how the program is in a free fall if it was good enough over a 60-game sample size last year to be judged to have the best body of work in the country. Explain that one to me.
I agree with you. And another thing, let's think about this. All right, if they're freaking out now, are they going to freak out if we pull what Florida did and go 1-11 in the first 12 games? People will be calling for, look. It's amazing to go to 19 straight. No one else will do that. I don't think anybody else will do that, especially now that all the schools are taking baseball seriously in this league.
Yeah.
Even I think is starting to come around to that way of thinking. Now,
Yeah.
they look like a fish out of water, but they're even getting better, I think. So all
Yes.
6 teams are capable of making the NCAA tournament every year. I just have a real problem with people just if they want to. First of all, who's your next coach? If you want to fire Tim Corbin, who are you going to get that's better?
Right. You're not. I mean, maybe you can find a guy who, maybe you hire an assistant, let him roll with the, knowing the culture, the landscape of Vanderbilt, but you're not going to get better, I don't think. Now, again, I've got some issues with the way he's doing some things. And I think one of my biggest issues right now is I think they're tight, and I think that's on him. That's been a persistent. If you want to say what's your one criticism of Tim Corbin over the 23 years you covered them, it's that he gets very tense, and boy, it filters down. And I don't know if it's the regional against Wright State, all that. If maybe that was his fault, maybe that was something else. I don't know what it was, but I do think right now that's a valid criticism.
And I'll give you this. Tim is this. He is a strict parent.
Yeah.
That's because that's what he views it as a teacher and as a parent. That's how he views being a baseball coach. Okay?
Yeah.
Take all the baseball part out. For instance, I'll give you for instance. Yesterday, Brody Johnston and Rustin Rigdon don't play. Okay, they did something against team rules, so they didn't play yesterday. I assume they'll be back today. Most coaches wouldn't have sat them yesterday.
Especially when you're coming off a 3-game losing streak.
Exactly. You're going to take 2 of your better players, especially one of them right now, and set them against a decent Central Arkansas team.
Yeah.
No, of the other 16 coaches in this league, there may be 1 or 2 that would have done it. But that's who Tim is, and he's not going to change. Yeah. He's not going to change just because, some people think that, well, you should let anybody play, let them get away with whatever, boys will be boys and all that crap. No, he's never going to let that happen because he cares more about what happens to them after they leave Vanderbilt than he does when they're there even.
Yeah, well, I think this is what bothers me. Like I'm here to cover him. I'm supposed to do that dispassionately and just call it as I see it. And I've said, like, I think there's some issues with the team this year. I'm not going to sit here and give you a pep rally that, hey, they're going to get great. I have some real doubts, and we'll get into those in a minute. But what I don't like, and first of all, I think I'm probably the only person in the universe. I mean, I'm not really, but from a public-facing standpoint, that has the perspective on Tim Corbin that I do. And I've covered him. He and I've gotten into it at times. It's been a long time ago. Like any flaw that you see with Tim Corbin in terms of temperament or whatever, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you're wrong about that. But I know that there were years where, I would walk over there for baseball. Man, it was a breath of fresh air compared to some other stuff I was dealing with on other parts of campus. I mean, like there were years that I walked into that place, and it might be the only place I got treated with respect all year at Vanderbilt. And it was because of that guy. Whatever differences we had. I mean, he knew that I wrote things about him at times about bunting and, things that I thought strategically were not great baseball playing guys. But the more I covered him, I kind of got to understand it. And again, it's the long game. It's like you don't create you might see something like in a game like, man, why in the world did he leave this guy out there for that, or that guy to pinch hit for that? Like, he's told kids, like, if you come in and you do what you're supposed to do, you'll get an opportunity. So, yeah, there may be times that he leaves a kid on the bench who's a better matchup in a pinch hitting role. But he's also told the kid, hey, at the plate, you wait your turn, you follow the rules, you do what you're supposed to do, and I'm not going to hang you out to dry. And that includes in the media, too, by the way. He doesn't call his own kids out. I just think you have to be around it for a long time to really appreciate some of the nuances of him that don't make sense. And again, he's got flaws. He's got a temper. Sometimes he doesn't handle things well at all. And there'll be days I'll be the first to call it out. but on the whole of who he is and the way that he treats people with respect, including me, because I've seen it firsthand, and things that he's done, times he could have thrown kids under the bus and didn't do it and fell on the sword. Things he's done for other people that no one was ever going to find out about. It bothers me a lot when you see a guy like that taking bullets in the public that I think are just, again, for all his flaws, you can sit here and I'm not going to tell you should be happy with 7-6 in the way they're playing, but the criticism that is like, oh, he needs to step down, he's whatever. That's the part that just really, I don't know, man. That's hard for me to digest, knowing him and also knowing how hard this has been for him to build it.
Absolutely. And listen, if you don't think it bothers Tim Corbin, you're nuts.
Oh, it bothers him more than anybody.
And poor Maggie on games like that. And I know he's gotten better as he's gotten older, but I guarantee you she's miserable right now as well.
Sure.
There's two things I'd like to point out, Chris, before you go into your analysis of the baseball team. To me, I'm going to put it in two little neat packages. From the pitching standpoint, hit free bases is the problem. Free bases. Yep. From the hitting standpoint, runners in scoring position. Hitting with runners. That's it. Those two things are the biggest glaring, until we got the hit last night, at one point we were 1 for 42 with runners in scoring position.
Do you know who else is 1 for 42 in their last? Also 1 for, I saw a thread about it on the board. I was over there looking. Ole Miss is also 1 for its last 42 with runners in scoring position. I mean, it just, and Ole Miss is a good hitting team. I know people don't believe this. Doesn't mean a team doesn't have flaws, but sometimes in the midst of flaws, stuff just happens, and that's one of those things. I mean, they may go 8 for 10 with runners in scoring position today. I mean, it could happen.
That's what makes baseball a wonderful game. It's a frustrating game if it's your team,
sure.
But it's kind of like golf. You can come out one weekend and you're playing great and shoot 6 under par, and the next week you're 6 over par. It's baseball's a high variance sport, as we know, and does this team have flaws? Absolutely. I'm disappointed in the veterans of the pitching staff. I don't think that Brownie would tell you that they're doing anything near what he thought they'd be able to bring to the table yet. But again, it's 13 games in, and we got at least 43 more to go.
This is funny. I mean, I think other than, and you separate results and kind of processes and inputs out. Like the things that concern me more than the 7-6 record are some of the things I see under the hood. Oddly enough, like when they lost that game yesterday, there were actually a couple of things I saw in that said, okay, this gives me a little bit more hope that they can turn it around, even though they lost the game. Now health is the thing that's, the cloud over all this. Like if that doesn't happen with Nye and a couple other guys, I mean, I don't know that they've got enough guys to pull it off. Now, if they get everybody healthy or close to everybody healthy, this is a different conversation. And then you got the strike throwing conversation, because I just think that I don't know what's up with Kranzler right now, or Cyber, or even Luke Guth, but like none of those guys.
Faulkner,
or I mean,
yeah,
I don't think they could have possibly been any worse.
And look, they would not be on Vanderbilt's pitching staff if that's something that is their identity.
Yeah.
And I sit here and watch teams from Eastern Michigan and whoever they're playing, Marist even, those guys are throwing strikes. We may be hitting them, but they're not walking as many people as we are hitting people. I mean, we got one pitcher, I think it's Faulkner, has hit 6 guys.
Yeah.
We're just getting started, folks. So that stuff's got to be corrected, and it is correctable. The problem we have now also on that pitching staff, Chris, we have one left-hander.
Uh-huh.
Situationally, we're hamstrung right now.
Yeah.
Get Shorey, Miller Green, Stillman back, the other 3 lefties. You got Hudson Barton, who is limited, I think, on his pitch count right now. Now he's ramping up every time he goes out there. You had a staff of 20. Now you're at a staff of right now, depending on Nye's situation, of only 14 guys that are healthy.
Yeah. I think you do have some kind of interesting guys. Wyatt Nadeau has been, lights out so far. I think he's going to end up having a big role. So there's a guy that can help you. Connor Hamilton hadn't thrown a lot, but has been okay. He needs to get a little wild, but nobody's hitting him much.
You'll see him today, I think.
Yeah, and I'm really intrigued with Casaliba. He's had a couple of good appearances. I mean, Austin Nye was nowhere in the conversation for a guy that's going to be a major factor with their team a year ago. And he just kind of stepped up and went out and took the ball and turned into a good outing. All right, we'll give him a chance again. Here's another. And it just kept going to the end of the season. And I do wonder if a guy like that could help them with it. Like, wasn't really on there. Like, they knew he'd throw a little bit, but I don't think anybody was talking about him being like an arm that would contribute in a major way. And maybe he won't. Maybe it just was a couple of appearances and it doesn't pan out. But it's at least maybe on the table as we speak today.
What do you think, Chris, the SEC record has to be for them to get into the tournament? Would 13-17 get them there, or 14-16?
I think 13 and 17 could. You're just going to have to – you can't screw a lot of other things up. Like, they don't need to drop a game this weekend. They need to – you got to start beating some good teams at some point. That's the other thing that bothers me. Like, the numbers statistically say, like, they're kind of getting some bad luck. In fact, I'm going to give you this. And again, this is not an endorsement. It's just what it says. I'll give you some context. Based on runs scored and runs given up. And I adjusted that for 9 innings for offense and defense because we're getting so many run rule games. It says their record should be 10-3 based on that. That's a pretty good predictor. The SEC on a whole, the next unluckiest team is actually Georgia, which should be a win better than it is. And you got a couple teams. Let's see. Nobody's been a big overachiever. Alabama and Florida have a little bit. There's a little bit of noise in Florida's numbers too, although I think that's a really good team. Now, where I don't really believe that is I think they have put up those differentials against just kind of helpless opponents.
Right.
No, they have lost a couple of one-run games, and so I think they haven't won a one-run game yet, have they?
No.
There's a little bit of bad luck baked in there, but again, that's not really my concern. It's like if they can't throw strikes and get healthy, I'll just talk about good luck, bad luck, no breaks, whatever. It's not going to matter.
You're correct. It won't. And today's opponent is a bottom 4 type SEC team. Troy beat Georgia.
Yeah.
They're better than the team we just lost to yesterday. So yep. I don't know what they have pitching wise. Another thing I noticed over the weekend, and I will say this, I think we've got to quit playing 6 really good teams. I know Oregon was 1-8 or whatever, but I mean Arizona, but they're really a good team.
Yeah.
We've got the Friday starters on all 3 of those games. How that worked out, I don't know. But somehow we got their Friday. Who will be the Friday starters at Oregon, Arizona, and Irvine? All 3.
Yeah.
So
I was listening to D1 talk about that yesterday. I mean, obviously they got the Friday starter on Friday. They said that Arizona's guy, they said he'd be a 1 on any other team. I don't know who Arizona's 1 is. And by the way, forget, okay, Arizona's 1-8. Arizona's got, they're in the College World Series a year ago. I mean, that could turn around quickly.
Yeah.
Ole Miss was 7-14 the year it won the Natty, by the way. Did you have something? I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I just was going to ask you if you have the numbers in front of you. Strength of schedules thus far.
Yeah.
Where are we in that? Because there's some teams that haven't played but 3 games against quality opponents. And we've played 6 at least.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up. Part of the problem is that like Marist and Eastern Michigan, I think, are probably just really, really bad. So that negates it a little bit.
I guess my point is this: we could be sitting here at 10-3 if we'd have played another 3-game set against an opponent the quality of Marist or Eastern Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, like at least you know what some of your problems are now. Although I would say some of your problems were also a little bit apparent, when you're walking guys against Eastern Michigan and Marist. Although again, those are guys that may not pitch for you. Okay, they're 226 in RPI right now.
Yeah.
Although Georgia, which is a College World Series caliber team so far, they're 102, and that's all going to come up just by playing the SEC.
Sure.
Um,
There are other non-conference games. You have Indiana, you have Indiana State. I'm talking about quality opponents that I would think would be,
yeah.
and then
South Carolina. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
and then of course today against Troy. I think those three non-conference games, if you can get those, would boost it a little bit as well.
Yeah, South Carolina is number 26 in the RPI, by the way. They're never going to believe this. Their strength of schedule is 241.
Wow.
I don't know how. That's not going to end up there.
No.
In non-conference. I think that's probably hurt a little bit by Arizona being 1-8 or whatever. Like that's a better team than that.
Right.
Yeah, I think there's too much noise in it early. I mean, that always evens out. I mean, you're if you want something to hope on a little bit, and of course this is going to hurt them with the RPI a little bit. But if you just need wins, this helps you. I think. Okay, the teams they don't play, Auburn and Florida. I would rank those 4 or 5 in some order. Arkansas, I've got ranked 6th right now. Georgia, I've got 8, but that's an awfully strong 8. And Ole Miss, I've got ranked 10th. They don't play Ole Miss. So I've got them. I've got Vanderbilt 14 in the league right now, just in my opinion, how good they are. So that means they won't play 16, 15, 13, 12, and 11. Now, the bad news is there's still some good teams in there. Alabama and Kentucky would be in there. But anyway, it is what it is.
And that, of course, that's a fluid situation. Next week it'll be different.
Yeah.
Once we get into conference play, anyway.
Let's see what else I had for baseball before we go to the mailbag. What's up with? There's been talk of Rustin Rigdon having vision issues. Is this public knowledge, or is it just
don't know
somebody on a message board that knows? I mean, that has been a weird thing. Like I would have bet money that Rustin Rigdon would have started every game.
Well, it's funny. I guess all the strikeouts early in the season lends it to think, well, let's check his vision because he's not even coming close. He was swinging over top of the ball, whether it was a breaking stuff or hard stuff. He was swinging over top, so that could be a vision issue.
Well, I mean, explain though how if it's a vision issue, like you fix that with contacts or glasses. I mean, why?
Well, you would think so, but here's the thing: he may have not. He may have just developed this 2 months ago. And I'm not a doctor, obviously, but I can tell you this: we had a kid at Cheatham County High School who played at SEC in basketball. Name was Ryan Stack, and Ryan Stack wound up. The coach couldn't figure out why he was tired all the time and he was having vision problems. Come to find out, he loved sweet tea and he was drinking sweet tea by the gallon every day. So it's something like, it's weird stuff. And again, I don't know. I don't have any knowledge of what's wrong with Rustin. I just, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you could just see he was out of sorts that first series.
No question.
And I just think fundamentally he's such a great ball player. Like he doesn't hit for power yet, but he bulked up, and I think that'll come. But everything he does, he's good at. And I just that's really hurting them right now.
And this is a ifs and buts, and I'll get off of this. But if we don't lose that TCU game, and if we win yesterday's game, instead of 7-6, we're sitting at 9-4, and no one's talking about any of it.
Well, and that's where I would agree too. Everybody would be okay. We're fine. I would still look at it and say, I think this team's got some big issues. Where it would help them is like if they get down to the NCAA borderline, then obviously those 2 wins will help them. But other than that, them losing those games instead of winning them does not change anything, in my opinion.
How much change is it? Let's say we win the next 5 before we play LSU. And then we beat LSU 2 out of 3. How big of a jump does that make you go?
Well, then everybody thinks everything's great. And it may be or it may not be.
Right.
Depending on what okay, did you beat LSU 2 out of 3, but you walked or hit 24 guys and just got lucky because they hit into 8 double plays or whatever.
Right.
So
what's great about baseball, we're definitely not a finished product, that's for sure. And look, I don't panic yet. I don't. We're not going to go 20-5 every year in non-conference. We've been one of the best, got to be one of the best teams in non-conference in the league in the last 10, 15 years.
Oh, yeah, and that speaks to him, how getting his guys prepared and all those things. By the way, it felt like I didn't get to see a lot of it, but like I remember, who was it smashed the ball down the line? It was about to break open an inning. Third baseman got it, tagged the bag, threw to first. It felt like they hit into several double plays yesterday and had some hard contact that they just didn't have anything to show for it.
Yeah, was that Whitcomb maybe? I don't remember who it was.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
And here's another thing, and I don't mean to take a shot at Mac Whitcomb here. I mean, he can help them, but right now that's not in catching. The Barcy thing, okay, Barcy's healthy. Barcy probably catches a couple of games today or this weekend. Maybe Reynolds catches one, and Reynolds is catching the midweek. Instead, Reynolds caught 196 pitches on Friday, caught the whole week, the 2 games after that, and would have caught yesterday. They rest him, and then Whitcomb gives up a pass ball that then ended up being a big play and maybe was the difference between winning and losing. And again, a lot of teams have these, but right now it just feels like the deck has kind of been stacked against them every way you look at the moment.
Yeah, I go back to my 2 big points. I think that's what we got to watch for is, are we going to get better at giving free bases, and also are we going to get better with clutch hitting?
Yeah. Those are going to be big. Unfortunately, they've dug themselves a pretty big hole and don't have a lot of margin for error. Long season, but boy, you've got some tough ones. You hope for them they don't get buried in that, opening few weekends, Mississippi State, LSU portion of the season.
Well, you have 13 non-conference games left. You probably got to win 12 of them.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to the mailbag. It is brought to you by our friends at Sutherland and Belk, a family-owned injury law firm. If your loved one has been hurt in an accident, give Taylor or Russell a call, 615-846-6200. See what your rights are and if they can help. Guest line presented by friend of the show, John Levin and Womble Bond Dickinson. We appreciate their sponsorship of the show too. Orlando Door, that's a new one. Good to have a new poster in the mailbag. I know you guys don't talk much about women's basketball, but how consequential do you think it is to have the player of the year, freshman of the year, and coach of the year from the same team? Hey, I don't need to know much about it to know that's consequential.
Yeah, we've that's happened 4 times in women's basketball history. I follow it a lot than you do, Chris. And what Shay Ralph has done here is tremendous. She's taken, and the Texas coach, Vic Schaefer, alluded to this when we beat them. He said, what Shay Ralph has done is what every coach backs away from, is taking a team that was at the bottom and bringing it to the top. And when she got here and what she had when she got here compared to what she's done now in 5 years, she's gone from 16th to number 2.
VMAT23, if you could add one former Vanderbilt player to this year's basketball team that was not an NBA draft pick or an All-SEC first-team player, who would that be?
It would be a big. I'm not sure which big. Festus here.
Well, Festus was a draft pick, so he's ruled out.
It was Ogilvy, AJ Ogilvy, maybe.
I was thinking Ogilvy, although I don't know. He may have been a first-team All-SEC guy at some point.
Or go back to Will Purdue, although Will would have a problem right now. He's too old.
Yeah, it might. Running the floor could be a challenge. I'm trying to think who else. Maybe if Jeff Taylor would be interesting. I mean, John Jenkins, with the way they're struggling to shoot. I mean, my goodness.
Would be a 3-guard offense with Jenkins, Duke, and Tanner.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately it's got to be a big.
Have to be a big. Yeah.
Who else? I feel like we're forgetting somebody maybe obvious.
Well, the last 20, 25 years of big guys, well, of course, Liam Robbins.
Yeah, Liam Robbins would help a ton.
Yeah.
Jerry Lawless, Not a question, but flowers to Luke. I thought he underestimated the baseball team when he said that the ceiling was going to be a 2 seed in a regional. That might have actually been generous.
Well, the reason I said that, Chris, is because I'm not excited. I wasn't excited about our starting pitching.
Mm-hmm.
And our weekend rotation, we'll find out against LSU because that's going to be the acid test. And especially now with Nye questionable. It doesn't sound like he's going to pitch by then. I don't know. Gosh.
Yeah, I mean, LSU's having a lot of pitching troubles of its own. Now, the difference between them and Vanderbilt is they got a lot more arms.
That's
and
correct.
they'll weed out those guys on the bottom end, and they won't be pitching. Vanderbilt may have to use some of those guys, but okay. Jay Swafford, over the past 5 games on average, SEC teams have been shooting around 44% from 3 against us. Ole Miss 44%, Kentucky 50, Georgia 42, Tennessee 33, Missouri 50. To what extent is that being driven by opponents making difficult or lucky shots, or Vanderbilt's defensive breakdowns, or allowing 3-point attempts, open 3-point attempts? Says he appreciates the podcast.
Been different depending on the game. Kentucky, it was effort in the first half. And again, you should never have to coach effort. And then sometimes it's just late getting over. The help side defense is late getting over to the sprays. And, these guys can shoot the threes now. A lot of teams can shoot the three. I think when Tyler Nichols going, you could say the same thing about us. We're going to shoot a high percentage of threes when Tyler's himself.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like they've left a lot of shooters open. Maybe that's just a compromise for having to, be in foul trouble constantly underneath. I don't know, but there have been, a good number of open shots. So some of those guys that have hit shots, like, okay, if he's going to be open and hit that, I'll let him do it because we got bigger problems elsewhere. But it has happened.
Right.
Buff Door, I wish this guy posts more. He's always got good questions. Even with the win last night, it's clear this team is not functioning at the same level it did earlier in the season. What do you most attribute the basketball backslide over the last 3 weeks or so to? Gives options. The team is just worn out. Teams have adjusted to our scheme, are more prepared for what we do on offense. Lack of clear leadership and internal issues, i.e. Frankie Collins, or other, gives us the choice to fill in the blank.
Well, when we first started, we had 10 guys playing, and now we're really basically playing 7. Leverett played good last night, and he's the 8th guy right now. Tyler Harris made an appearance, but it's not a factor. Mike James is sick. So playing only 7 guys at this time of year is not ideal. But look, I've seen teams like UConn and Villanova in the past that win with no – they don't have a deep bench. They just have 7 guys that do it. So, these kids are young. I think they'll be fine once they get some rest after the SEC tournament.
Door 1997, multiple topics. Men's basketball, can you fix the rules? Refereeing, please. Seriously, we're losing a lot of eligibility this year. Nickel, Glock, Cherokee, Duke, Washington. Collins is already gone. We have 3 highly rated scholarship freshmen coming in and some PWO mid-major types who I assume will be scout team into the bench types. What do you think our emphasis will be in the portal?
Bigs, and bigs. Cherokee types, 6'9" to 6'11", that are athletic. Now, how many of them are out there that can we get? I don't know. I think we'll be fine at guard, especially if Tyler comes back. And that's another good, at some point. He's going to be a fringe guy right at the bottom of the first round or somewhere in the second round, I think. I don't know. So I've heard that, and I've also heard he won't get drafted. So who knows?
Yeah, I think all things being equal, I think a year to come back and add muscle would help him.
Yep.
Because, boy, if you get knocked around here, all those guys in that league look like middle linebackers. They're just, taller.
That's why Darius Garland stays hurt all the time.
Yeah.
The league's so physical.
All right. Why is our hitting with runners in scoring position so bad?
If I had that answer, Corbin would hire me. I don't know. The approach at the plate early on when the season started, I thought was great. And obviously the power numbers were great, and they still are great. I think there's a hole there at second base. Not to pick on Carter Johnstone, but somebody else needs to be hitting there. He's hitting like $150. and not a lot of hard contact.
Yeah.
Everybody gets back. If Rigdon solves his problems, I think we're going to be fine hitting the baseball.
Yeah, Johnstone he was the Big West Freshman of the Year. He hit really well a year ago. So, I mean, it could come, but, man, right now it is just not.
It's not. And that's what I'm excited about Maldonado. I think his swing looks a lot better. He looks healthy.
Yeah.
His veteran presence will help us as we move forward.
Football question. Will there be any significant fallout from the recent player departure? Were any expected to be rotational players? How do the replacements we signed compare? That's referred to the three guys that are no longer part of the football team, which, by the way, what I was told at first was they were no longer in school. I got called with a correction to that, so we changed it in the story. So if you saw the first version of our story yesterday, those three freshmen, Chris Tangelo being the biggest one, they're still in school, but just not part of the team.
Right, and I think that's the smart thing to do whenever there's still things up in the air.
Yeah. Good way to put it. Charleston alum, what needs to happen in Knoxville for us to win?
Well, it would be helpful if Ament doesn't play again.
Yeah.
Walk and shot. No, their defense and their rebounding, if you can keep them off the board, and you're going to lose the rebounding battle. I think we lost it by 9 in Nashville. If you can keep it to that, and then Nickel, I hate to put all the pressure on that kid, but Nickel's got to have his shot back. He's got to be able to hit his threes.
Yeah, don't foul out while you're losing the rebounding battle either. That's another key.
Or get
what's that?
Or get 2 hook and holds.
Right.
I'm going to tell you somebody who's playing really well for them, and it's kind of gone under the radar, is Akpara.
Yeah, he's a good player.
But he's gotten better. He's gotten a lot better, and that kind of worries me because we don't really have a matchup for him.
He could have traded. I would have dealt off Frankie Collins for him back in December.
Yeah, absolutely. In hindsight, you would have traded Frankie for a dozen basketballs.
No kidding. Cardiac Doors, with our sample size of 2 seasons, both the Byington squads have played their worst ball in the most important stretch. I think this is a good question. What factors do you contribute to the slide on both years? Depth, fatigue, scheme being figured out, or injuries?
I'm going to go injuries more so because last year you had the Hemingway thing hang over us all year. Kid from USC with the heart problem. This year, same situation with Frankie Collins and Mason Nichols. So I think it's that's cut into your depth and the dependent on a guy like Tyler Tanner. And, he's a smallish kid, but, man, he's got a heart big as all outdoors.
I do wonder, is there maybe a health or conditioning issue underneath all this? Or it just feels like, okay, everybody's tired this time of year. Yeah. I get it. So you can say they're tired, but the other guys on the other sideline have the same opportunity to be tired. I do wonder about that a little bit.
What I think is going to happen to help us, Duke Miles got that time off. I think Duke will round into form, and I think that's besides Nichols' threes, you know what you're going to get with Tyler Tanner most nights. But besides Nichols' threes, getting Duke Miles back to what Duke Miles was shooting percentage-wise and playing at high level defensively, that's going to be the key how deep we can go.
Yeah, I'm like, if those two things happen, unless they just get a Tennessee or a Florida type team with bigs that give them problems, they're a second weekend team.
Yeah, they are. It's all about matchups.
Yep. Okay. I think that's it. Any parting thoughts on your end, sir?
No, sir. I'm good. Good to go.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching and listening. The podcast has always been free. We plan for it to always be free. Here's how you can help us keep it that way. Subscribe to our Vandy 247 YouTube channel. That's free. Give the podcast a review and a 5-star rating where you get your audio podcast. That's free. That helps us get noticed. Give us a like here on this video and leave a nice comment. That helps. If you're listening, you haven't subscribed to Vandy247.com, please do that. $139.99 a year. You get stuff there you don't get here. Finally, if you want to sponsor the show, give me a shout, chrislee70@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. We'll catch you again soon with more episodes of the Vandy 247 podcast presented by FanDuel.